Most backyard gardeners are spending between $300 and $800 building raised beds. And most of them don't realize they just built the least efficient growing system possible. Raised beds dry out faster. They require constant watering. They depend on fertilizer, and in 5 to 7 years, you rebuild them all over again. Meanwhile, there's a method that costs almost nothing, stores its own water, builds fertility over time, and produces more food every single year, not less, more. Today, we're going to look at why raised beds quietly drain your money and the simple system that replaces them. Walk into any garden center in early spring. Everything looks clean, organized, simple. You see raised bed kits stacked neatly, premium soil bags, organic fertilizers, irrigation systems, moisture meters, soil boosters. It feels like a clear path. Buy the kit, fill the box, plant the seeds. But here's the part most people never calculate. A basic 4x8 raised bed. Lumber, $150 to $300. Soil to fill it, $200 to $400. Compost and amendments, $50 to $100. Drip irrigation, another $50 to $100. You're often at $600 before planting a single tomato. Now multiply that by 2 or 3 beds. Suddenly, you're at $2,000 for a backyard system. And that's just the beginning, because the real cost isn't construction, it's maintenance. Raised beds dry out faster than ground soil. They sit above grade. Wind hits them from all sides. Sun warms them faster. Moisture evaporates faster. So you water more. You fertilize more. And every year, the soil depletes. Not because you failed, but because the structure requires it. But let's think structurally. A raised bed is essentially a wooden container. It isolates soil. It separates it from deeper biological systems. There's no deep carbon layer underneath, no long-term decomposition engine, no internal reservoir. It starts at peak performance the day you fill it. From that point forward, it slowly declines. Nutrients are harvested. Rain leaches minerals. Microbial diversity drops without replenishment. So every year, you add inputs. More compost, more fertilizer, more amendments. It becomes a managed system, not a regenerative one. That distinction matters because regenerative systems reduce effort over time. Maintenance systems increase effort over time. Now compare that to a forest. No one fertilizes forests. No one installs irrigation lines. No one replaces soil annually. But yet forests build richer soil every year. Why? Because forests are built on decomposing wood. When a tree falls in a forest, it doesn't get removed. It becomes the foundation of the next generation. Wood decomposes slowly. It absorbs water. It feeds fungi. It builds carbon-rich soil. It creates a structure. And most importantly, it stores moisture underground. Forests are not containers. They are layered biological systems. That is the difference. There's a traditional method called Hugelkultur. It sounds technical, but it's simple. You stack logs and branches into a mound. You cover them with soil. You plant directly into it. That's the entire structure. But underneath that soil layer, something very different is happening. When wood begins to decompose, its cellular structure becomes porous. It acts like a sponge. Research shows that decaying wood can hold several times its weight in water. That means when it rains, the wood absorbs moisture. When the surface dries, that moisture moves upward slowly. Instead of draining away, it stays inside the system. you've built an underground reservoir without plastic, without pumps, without irrigation tubing, just wood. Water storage is only part of the equation. As wood decomposes, fungi colonize it. Fungi form networks underground. These networks connect plant roots, they transfer nutrients, they increase access to minerals, they improve soil structure. Over time, the mound becomes biologically active. Earthworms increase, microbial life expands, carbon accumulates. Unlike a raised bed, the system improves. Year 1, it's functional. Year 2, it's stronger. Year 3, it's more stable. But year 5, it's significantly more productive. It doesn't decline. It matures. That is a fundamental difference. Let's compare realistically over 10 years. One raised bed. Initial build, $600 average. Lumber replacement once, $200 to $300. Fertilizer annually, $50 to $100 per year. Extra water usage. Over 10 years, $1,200 to $2,000. Now Hugelkultur. Logs, free. Branches, free. Leaves, free. Grass clippings, free. Kitchen scraps, free. Topsoil cap, maybe $50. After the first year, watering drops significantly. Fertilizer becomes minimal. After year 3, most of the fertility is internal. Over 10 years, close to zero additional cost. That's not a gardening trick. That's structural efficiency. If this works so well, why isn't it everywhere? Because it doesn't require products. Raised beds require lumber, soil, fertilizer, irrigation, replacement parts. Hugelkultur requires fallen branches, yard waste, natural debris. It uses materials most people discard. You can't market a pile of branches, but you can market a kit. Raised beds are clean, organized, sellable. That doesn't make them optimal. It makes them marketable. There's a difference. If you decide to build one, keep it simple. Choose a sunny location. Lay down large hardwood logs first. Avoid treated wood. Avoid black walnut. Fill gaps tightly with smaller branches. Pack it dense. This prevents future collapse. Add a nitrogen layer, grass clippings, fresh manure, compost. This supports early decomposition. Then cover with 6 to 10 inches of soil. Water thoroughly the first season. Plant heavy feeders initially. Squash, tomatoes, pumpkins. Year 2, unwatering decreases. Year 3, moisture regulation stabilizes. The mound settles gradually. Add compost lightly if desired, but it becomes increasingly self-sufficient. There's another advantage most people overlook. Mounds create microclimates. The south-facing slope warms faster, ideal for heat-loving crops. The north-facing slope stays cooler, better for greens and herbs. One structure, multiple growing environments. A raised bed is flat. A mound is dynamic. That matters in smaller spaces. The real shift here isn't about beds, it's about systems. Do you want a structure that requires continuous inputs, or one that reduces inputs over time? Raised beds are containers. Hugelkultur is infrastructure. Containers need maintenance. Infrastructure builds resilience. Over 10 or 20 years, that difference compounds, not just in cost, but in soil quality, moisture stability, yield consistency. If you were about to spend $600 on raised beds this season, pause. Look at what you already have. Fallen branches, old logs, yard waste. That may not look valuable, but structurally, it may be more powerful than a wooden box. If this changed how you think about gardening, subscribe. There are more systems like this, simple, overlooked, and quietly more efficient. Once you start thinking in systems, you don't just grow plants, you build ecosystems. And that changes everything.